Hello there, I'm Stacy, a 37-year-old wife and mom. My husband Eric and I were hosting a family event at our home to welcome back none other than the infamous Uncle Isaac, my brother-in-law, after his 5-year stint in the slammer. Yes, you heard that right. Prison, the big house. But before you start judging him and our family, know that Isaac had been falsely imprisoned. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time. It took 5 long years of fighting for his case to finally be reviewed properly and for him to be exonerated. You can imagine the excitement in the air as we prepared to reunite the family. The party was in full swing, and everyone seemed to be having a grand old time. Isaac was, of course, the center of attention, catching up with everyone and regaling us with stories from his time behind bars. He had a special bond with my daughter Wendy, who used to be close to him before the unfortunate incident that led to his incarceration. Laughter and animated conversations filled the house, and the aroma of delicious food permeated the air as we indulged in a feast fit for a king. It was a rare moment of joy and togetherness for our family, and I relished the warmth it brought to my heart. After the event, as everyone left, we were still buzzing with excitement, grateful to see Isaac alive, happy, and well after his unjust imprisonment. Life resumed its usual rhythm, and it seemed like the storm of family drama had subsided, at least temporarily. However, the elation following Isaac's return was short-lived. A couple of days after the event, as I sat in a living room engrossed in a book, Wendy burst through the door with a look of fear and anger etched across her face. Startled, I quickly put my book aside and rushed to her side. "Wendy, what's wrong? You look terrified. Talk to me." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she gasped for breath. "Mom, I found a hidden camera in one of my plants." My heart skipped a beat and a wave of dread washed over me. A hidden camera in my daughter's sanctuary? Anger surged within me, but I had to remain calm for Wendy's sake. We made our way to her room, my mind racing with a million thoughts and questions. Sure enough, there it was, concealed amidst the lush foliage of her favorite plant. A tiny camera peering into her private moments, violating her sense of security. How long had this camera been there? I felt a mixture of disgust, fear, and anger bubbling up inside me. Without wasting a moment, I called Eric, my voice trembling with a mix of emotions, and relayed the horrifying news. "Eric, you won't believe what I just discovered. There's a hidden camera in Wendy's room. We need to do something about this now." His voice held a mix of concern and fury. "I'll be right there, Stacy. We're not going to let this go. Our daughter deserves her privacy, and whoever is responsible for this will face the consequences." As we waited for Eric to arrive, Wendy clung to me, her tears dampening my shirt. She blamed herself for not noticing the intrusion sooner, but I reassured her that it wasn't her fault. I vowed to stand by her side and get to the bottom of this unsettling ordeal. When Eric finally joined us, his eyes mirrored our emotions, a simmering rage masked by a controlled exterior. We examined the camera meticulously, looking for any clues that could lead us to the perpetrator. It was a violation of trust that cut deep, and we were determined to uncover the truth. The invasion of our sanctuary shattered the illusion of safety we had built around our family. We had to act swiftly, not only for our daughter's well-being, but also to protect our sense of security. If Wendy found one camera in her room, who knows how many other cameras could be lurking around our home. "We won't rest until we find out who did this, Wendy. Don't you worry." "Thanks, Mom. If you don't mind, could I please take a nap in the guest room? I don't feel comfortable in mine, and I'm exhausted right now." "Of course, my baby. Do what makes you feel comfortable. I'm so sorry." Wendy trudged to the guest room, undoubtedly wanting some alone time after her privacy had been invaded so maliciously. Who would do such a thing? "We'll review the footage, gather any evidence we might find, and involve the authorities if necessary. No one messes with our family like this." Although I was shaken, I found solace in our united front. Eric and I sat down in the quiet of our living room, the weight of the situation hanging heavy in the air. Our minds swirled with thoughts, trying to piece together the puzzle of who could have planted the hidden camera in Wendy's room. As we explored the possibilities, one name surfaced and lingered: Isaac. I began cautiously, trying to keep my voice level. It's hard to ignore the timing. The camera was most likely planted during the family gathering, and who had the opportunity? Isaac. "Stacy, you can't seriously think Isaac would stoop so low." "Yes, he made some mistakes in the past, But he's not a creep. He's my brother, for crying out loud. I understood Eric's reaction. Family ties run deep, and the idea of suspecting one's kin of such a violation is unfathomable. However, I couldn't ignore the pieces of the puzzle that seemed to align with Isaac's presence during the family gathering. Prison changes people, and the prolonged interactions between Wendy and Uncle Isaac were ringing alarm bells in both Eric and me, even if Eric was too stubborn to admit it. Gathering my thoughts, I spoke gently but firmly. Eric, I know it's difficult to consider, but we have to face the facts. He spent a significant amount of time with Wendy during the gathering, suggesting somewhat of an interest in her. And let's not forget that he just came out of prison. People change, and their actions can be influenced by their experiences. It's our responsibility to protect our daughter, even if it means questioning those closest to us. Eric's shoulders slumped as the weight of the situation bore down on him. He looked torn between loyalty and the cold hard facts. Slowly he nodded, his voice tinged with a mix of resignation and discomfort. I don't want to believe it, Stacy, but you're right. The timing is uncanny, and it's hard to ignore. We need to find out the truth for Wendy's sake. The thought of confronting Isaac about this betrayal gnawed at our conscience, but it had to be done. The sanctity of our home and the well-being of our daughter depended on it. As we prepared ourselves for the difficult task ahead, we promised each other that we would approach this with caution and compassion. We needed to uncover the truth, not only for our peace of mind, but also to protect Wendy from any further harm. Days turned into nights, and Eric remained torn between loyalty to his brother and the unsettling suspicion that hung in the air. The weight of the situation pressed upon us, straining our relationship with Isaac and casting a shadow over our family. As we navigated the treacherous waters of uncertainty, a plan began to form in my mind, a risky yet necessary plan to catch the culprit red-handed. I approached Eric with my idea, explaining that hosting another family gathering might be the key to uncovering the truth. Think about it, Eric. Whoever planted that camera would most likely seize any opportunity to retrieve it. This event, purely meant for family togetherness, presents the perfect chance for the culprit to strike again. Eric hesitated, his emotions still tangled in a web of conflicting loyalties. But as I laid out the logic and the urgency of our situation, he eventually agreed that we needed to exhaust all possibilities before involving the authorities. It was a difficult decision, but one we had to make to safeguard our family and restore our sense of security. I picked up the phone and dialed Tina, number, Isaac's wife. Hey Tina, we were thinking of hosting another family get-together. Just wanted to see if you and Isaac would be available. Tina, response was almost too enthusiastic. She eagerly agreed, expressing her excitement for yet another family gathering. It struck me as a bit odd, considering she was normally the reserved type, but I pushed those thoughts aside, attributing her behavior to a genuine love for family bonding. With the plan set in motion, Eric and I busied ourselves with the preparations. Our home once again became a hub of anticipation and unease. Every nook and cranny was checked and rechecked for any signs of intrusion. We aimed to create an atmosphere of normalcy, hiding our true intentions beneath layers of hospitality and warmth. The stakes were high, and the fate of our family hung in the balance. As the day of the gathering approached, I couldn't help but feel a mix of anxiety and determination. We were walking a tightrope, unsure of what awaited us at the other end, but we were ready to face it head-on to protect our daughter and ensure the sanctity of our home. The day of the gathering arrived, and the familiar faces of our family members filled our home once again. The air crackled with anticipation, but beneath the surface, tension simmered. Uncle Isaac, ever the charismatic figure, greeted everyone with his charm. But his warmth was met with icy reserve from both Eric and me. Our suspicions hung heavy between us, casting a somber shadow over the event. To ensure Wendy's safety and protect her from any potential harm, we made the difficult decision to keep her away from the gathering by sending her on a sleepover at a friend's house. We assured her that it was for the best, not revealing the true nature of our fears. With her absence, our focus sharpened, and we resolved to keep a vigilant eye on anyone venturing in the direction of Wendy's room. As the party swung into motion, laughter and conversation filled the air, camouflaging our underlying mission. Eric and I played the role of gracious hosts, all the while scanning the crowd for any signs of suspicious behavior. Our sleuth game was on point. The night progressed, the rhythm of music and dance providing a backdrop to our hidden agenda. Amidst the festivities, I couldn't help but notice Tina's peculiar movements. She frequently excused herself, disappearing into the bathroom with a sense of urgency. My instincts sharpened, and I couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that something was amiss. Curiosity getting the better of me, I decided to approach Tina. As she made her way towards the bathroom once again, I followed discreetly, my heart pounding in my chest. To my surprise, instead of entering the bathroom, she veered off into Wendy's room. Panic welled up inside me, and I knew I had to confront her to uncover the truth hidden within the depths of her actions. Stepping forward, I called out her name, my voice holding a mix of accusation and concern, mirroring the conflicting emotions swirling within me. Tina, what are you doing in Wendy's room? Startled Tina turned around, her eyes darting around the room searching for an escape, but there was nowhere to hide from the truth. The silence between us grew heavy, pregnant with unspoken accusations. I asked you a question, Tina. What are you doing in my daughter's room? Tina, composure cracked and tears welled up in her eyes. Her voice trembled as she stammered. I was just looking for Wendy. I was surprised that she didn't join us for the festivities this time. You were looking for her in her drawers, I said, my voice laced with incredulity. Tina looked down to find her hand still firmly planted in the drawer she was rummaging through. I can explain. Save it. The one person we least expected, the one we had defended vehemently, had betrayed our trust. The room spun with a mixture of disbelief and disappointment. At that moment, I beckoned to Eric, who was not too far from me, and he hurried over, assuming that we had caught Isaac in Wendy's room. His jaw dropped when he saw that it was Tina. You planted that camera, didn't you? Why, Tina? Why would you do such a thing? Eric wasted no time and called Isaac over to Wendy's room, his voice firm and commanding. Isaac, sensing the urgency in his brother's tone, hurriedly made his way to the room, confusion etched on his face. What's going on? He asked. As Isaac entered the room, his eyes fell upon Tina, tears streaming down her face. Before he could utter another word, Eric quietly closed the door behind us, shielding the rest of the party from the unfolding drama. I took a deep breath, my voice steady as I began to explain everything. I recounted the shocking discovery of the camera in Wendy's room, the hidden invasion of our privacy that had shattered our trust. My words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of the truth. We organized this gathering, Isaac, to catch the person responsible for planting the camera, and in all honesty, we suspected you initially. I'm so sorry, bro. I never should have doubted you. I just thought, with prison and all. Stop, it was mainly me who accused you, Isaac. I'm so sorry, but after I caught Tina, in here, I knew that you had nothing to do with it. Isaac's brows furrowed, his eyes flickering between Eric, Tina, and me. Confusion lingered in his gaze as his mind tried to grasp the gravity of the situation. He turned to Tina, seeking answers. Tina, why were you in Wendy's room? What's happening? We found Tina, rummaging through Wendy's belongings. She was the one who left the camera in there. Now that everyone was present, I looked at Tina and demanded, Tina, you need to explain yourself. Why would you do something like this? Tina, shoulders slumped as she looked at us, the weight of her actions clearly bearing down on her. Through her tears, she began to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. I did it because I was jealous. Wendy is such a bright, beautiful girl, and seeing how everyone loves her, especially Isaac, I felt invisible. I thought if I could find something to tarnish her image, maybe I would feel better about myself. But I know now how wrong I was. I'm so sorry. The room fell into a stunned silence. The magnitude of Tina's betrayal and the pain it had caused was immense. Despite the hurt and anger, Eric and I knew we had to address this with compassion for the sake of our family. We'll need to involve the authorities, Eric said quietly, but first, we need to make sure Wendy is safe and knows that none of this is her fault. Isaac looked at Tina, a mixture of sadness and disappointment in his eyes. We'll get through this, but you need to understand the gravity of what you've done. Tina nodded, her tears flowing freely now, as she began to comprehend the full extent of her actions. The road ahead would be difficult, but our family's bond was strong, and we were determined to face it together. to heal and protect each other from any further harm. Tina. Eyes darted around the room, seeking solace in her husband's support. But Isaac's face mirrored the shock and confusion that had gripped the room. He couldn't fathom why Tina would resort to such invasive measures, especially against her own family. Fine, fine, you caught me. Yes, it was me who left the camera in Wendy's room. I was coming here to retrieve it. We know that. We caught you. We just want to know why, I demanded. It's because I'm jealous, okay? Tina. Confession hung in the air, her motives laid bare for all to see. She admitted, with a mixture of shame and frustration, that her actions stemmed from jealousy of Wendy. She had noticed Isaac and Wendy conversing frequently during the previous family gathering, which ignited the spark of envy within her. She questioned what made Wendy so special, what drew Isaac's attention and affection towards her. Isaac couldn't help but interject, his voice laced with both defensiveness and genuine concern. Tina, you know I love Wendy, but not in a creepy way or anything like that. Being an uncle is important to me. I was simply checking up on Wendy, making sure she was doing well. It was out of love and family concern, nothing sinister or inappropriate. You know that. Oh yeah, then why were you always praising Wendy, going on and on about how amazing she is and how well she's doing in school? It made me wonder what was so special about her. So you're acting crazy because I'm a proud uncle. Tina, tell me, is there something wrong with being a proud uncle? I have every right to appreciate and support Wendy. It's not about favoritism or anything more than genuine love for my niece. I didn't think that you feel this way, Tina mumbled. Trying to navigate through the tumultuous emotions in the room, I directed my attention to Tina. What were you hoping to uncover by planting the camera? What did you expect to find exactly? I just wanted to see how Wendy lives her life. Maybe if I could understand her better and emulate her actions, I could gain the same praise and attention from you, Isaac. I wanted to feel valued like her. You're jealous of a teenager. How low can you sink? This is beyond messed up, Eric said, his voice filled with disgust. After a silence that could put a library to shame, Eric decided to pull the plug on the party. It was a good call. The last thing we needed was to keep a party going after discovering Tina, true nature as the resident creep of the year. With the room now cleared of all the relatives, it was just Eric and me left to grapple with the aftermath of Tina's little escapade. It wasn't a pretty sight. I let loose on Tina, unleashing a verbal barrage that could make a sailor blush. Who does that? Who plants a damn camera in their niece's room? Sick in the head, that's who. Isaac stood there like a lost puppy, disappointment etched all over his face. I guess he couldn't fathom what kind of twisted game his beloved wife was playing. Can't say I blame him. I might be equally dumbfounded if my better half turned out to be a lunatic. As the dust settled and our emotions ran dry, Eric and I found ourselves sitting in our once cheerful home, now tainted by the sinister acts of one family member. The next day, when Wendy came home, it was my job to spill the beans, to expose the whole twisted truth. Wendy's eyes welled up with tears as I recounted the heinous violation of her privacy. The poor girl, innocent and unsuspecting, couldn't fathom that someone in our own family could stoop so low. Trust shattered. Her world turned upside down in an instant. She managed to choke out the words, her voice trembling with hurt and confusion. Mom, I never thought that anyone would do this to me. Tina? Seriously. I shook my head, unable to wrap my mind around it. Believe me, Wendy, none of us saw this coming. Tina, gone off the deep end for sure. With Wendy in my arms, her tears staining my shoulder, I made her a promise. We're going to fight back. Pressing charges is just the beginning. Tina needs a reality check, and we're more than willing to deliver it. Her tearful gaze met mine, seeking reassurance. But Mom, what about Uncle Isaac? How is he doing? I sighed, the weight of our shattered family hanging heavy in the air. If I'm being honest, he's not taking it well. He feels like he can't truly celebrate his freedom, knowing that he's married to a nut job. So what does that mean? Is he getting a divorce? I don't have baby. Oh, I hate what she's done to this family. Same. Right now, our priority is your safety. We're getting a restraining order against Tina, so she won't even dare to think about crossing your path again. We're in the process of pressing charges and obtaining a restraining order against Tina, the camera-wielding menace. Meanwhile, the once inseparable bond between Isaac and our family remains strained, shattered by the weight of this unimaginable betrayal. It's a painful and awkward silence that hangs between us, a reminder of the depths to which one person's jealousy can sink. But through it all, we remain steadfast, determined to rebuild, to heal, and to find solace in the love and support of those who truly matter. The road to recovery may be long and arduous, but we are ready to face whatever lies ahead, armed with the knowledge that our family's strength will prevail.